All right, so let's jump right in. We've got these AI models that are, unbelievably powerful. But how do we actually get them to connect to the real world, to do stuff? That's really the multi-billion-dollar question, right? Well, there's a new standard that's trying to be the answer. It's called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. And this question really gets to the heart of it. It perfectly frames the problem we're facing. An AI model all by itself is kind of like this brilliant brain just floating in a jar. It can think, it can reason, it can write amazing things based on what it's learned, but it can't see anything new or actually interact with the world around it. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why AI needs those hands in the first place. Then we'll get into the total integration nightmare that existed before all this. After that, we'll introduce MCP, this new universal connector. We'll explore its amazing promise, but also its hidden dangers. Then we'll dig into the brand new security threats it creates. And finally, we'll look at how we can actually tame this thing and use it safely. Okay, section 1. Let's start right at the beginning. Without some way to connect to the outside world, even the smartest AI is basically just a fancy pattern prediction machine. It's super powerful, for sure, but it's stuck with only the data it was trained on. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got that brain in a jar. But check out the right side. That's what happens when it becomes a tool-enabled agent. When we give an AI tools, we're essentially giving it eyes and hands. All of a sudden, it can call an API to get the current weather, it can search a company database for a customer's order, it can even fire off an email for you. You can pretty much think of tools as being like apps on a smartphone, but for an AI. So here's the official definition. A tool is really just any program that the AI can call on to do one of two things, either to know something new, like grabbing fresh data from the internet, or to do something in the world, like performing an action. That's the magic trick, right there. That's what turns a passive model into an active agent. Okay, but here's the problem. Connecting all these different tools to all these different AI models, well, it created a massive, massive headache for developers. It was like the Wild West of custom, one-off connections. This whole mess got a name, the N times M integration problem. N is the number of AI models you've got, and M is the number of tools you want to connect them to. And as you can probably guess, this gets out of control fast. And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? It was absolute chaos. Every single connection needed its own custom-built connector. So every time a developer wanted to use a new model or try a new tool, they had to build the whole integration from scratch. This spaghetti cable problem was incredibly expensive, super fragile, and it was just grinding innovation to a halt. And then, to fix this exact problem, a brand new standard was proposed back in November 2024. It's called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, and it was designed to finally bring some order to all that chaos. The absolute best way to think about MCP is to think of it as the USB-C for AI. Seriously. Instead of a drawer full of a dozen different custom cables, you just have one universal standard. Any tool can plug into any model, and it just works. This is a total game changer. So how does it all work? Well, under the hood, it's a pretty classic client-server setup. You've got the host, that's your main AI app. Inside the host is the client, which is what talks to the server. And the server is the thing that actually provides all the tools for the AI to use. It's this clean separation of jobs that makes the whole thing so powerful and so easy to scale. But, like any powerful new technology, this universal connector is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it offers just incredible promise. But on the other, it introduces some really serious new dangers. Let's start with the good stuff, the promise. For developers, MCP speeds everything up like crazy. It creates this amazing plug-and-play marketplace of tools. It even lets AI agents discover and use new tools on the fly without needing a human to set it up. And it future-proofs your whole setup, because you can swap models or tools in and out without having to rebuild everything. And the data here is pretty stark. It shows us exactly where all the energy is going. Tools have become the absolute killer app for MCP. It's not even close. We're talking 99% adoption. And that is a really big deal. Because if everyone is using tools, well, that means the security risks that come with those tools, they suddenly become priority number one. Which brings us right to the heart of the problem. That universal connectivity, the very thing that makes MCP so great, is also its biggest weakness. It cracks open an entirely new landscape of security threats. Let's make this real. We're going to look at a specific kind of threat so you can see how this works. It's an attack called tool shadowing, and it's basically where a malicious tool hides in plain sight by pretending to be a safe, legitimate one. So here's a perfect example of that. On the left, you've got the legitimate tool with a very specific, very safe description. But look at the malicious one on the right. Its description is way broader, much more tempting. It tells the AI to use it any time a user mentions simple words like save or store. An AI, just trying to be helpful, could easily fall for that and pick the wrong tool. And the results of that mistake? It's exactly what you'd be afraid of. The source material puts it bluntly. This could easily lead to an attacker stealing a user's sensitive data. The crazy part is, the attacker doesn't even have to hack the system. They just have to fool the AI. And tool shadowing is really just the tip of the iceberg. You've also got things like dynamic capability injection, where a malicious server adds a dangerous tool without any warning. You have info leaks from the conversation itself. And then there's the classic cybersecurity problem called the confused deputy, where you trick a powerful tool with lots of permissions into doing your dirty work for you. So yeah, the situation might seem a little scary, but it's definitely not hopeless. The key isn't to run away from the protocol. It's to tame it. It's about building the right safety guardrails around it. And these are the strategies that are absolutely crucial. Companies need to use explicit allow lists. If a tool isn't on the list, it doesn't get in. A secure API gateway can act like a central security checkpoint. For any really high-risk actions, you have to get a human being to sign off on it. And of course, the basics still apply. Sanitize all your data and give every single tool the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job, and nothing more. And this really is the key takeaway. For any big company using this stuff, the future of MCP isn't going to be this pure, open, decentralized dream. No way. It's going to be a version that is wrapped, hardened, and locked down with multiple layers of centralized security and governance. The pure protocol is just too dangerous to use on its own in a corporate environment. And that really leaves us with the big final question. MCP unleashes this incredible, world-changing power, the power to connect AI to literally everything. But with that kind of power comes an immense responsibility. So the challenge for all of us moving forward isn't just about building smarter and smarter AIs. It's about building the wiser, robust guardrails that will let us use them safely.